And then there are the potential candidates on the Republican side. A lot of them. At varying levels of testing the proverbial waters, some seeing what the temperature is like, others have teams and are just waiting for their moments to dive in. Many of them are current or former governors.
And I can promise you this, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has been hinting at a run for months, laying the groundwork in his home state of Florida with an agenda aimed at the culture wars, emboldened by a re-election victory of almost 20 points over his Democratic opponent. The former congressman and naval lawyer has signaled his desire to sign legislation to prohibit most abortions after the 6-week mark, remove restrictions on carrying a gun in public, and signed a law that prohibits instruction on sexual orientation and gender identity in schools until 3rd grade.
We need to make sure that our education system is bringing us together.
In recent Granite State polls, DeSantis has either been first or second, fighting for the early top spot with former President Donald Trump. South Carolina Senator Tim Scott has also been seen as a potential candidate, traveling to early states like Iowa, pitching a new American sunrise and calling for unity in a time of divisiveness. Scott, whose 2013 election made him the first black Southern senator in more than a century, became a leading voice on criminal justice reforms in the wake of the George Floyd killing, working on bipartisan legislation that so far is still stalled.
Politics too often gets in the way of doing what every American knows is common sense.
If they're going to get into a primary fight with Donald Trump, they better be ready, because it will not be tiddlywinks.
Former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie is once again hinting at a presidential run. In 2016, Christie spent much of his campaign on the ground in New Hampshire, banking on the state to propel his chances at the nomination. Christie has been increasingly outspoken against former President Donald Trump, who he says crossed a red line with unproven claims of election fraud in 2020. He's also been critical of President Biden's stance toward Russian President Vladimir Putin.
Does anybody in this room look at President Biden and go, oh, don't mess with him?
Our nation's future rests in Virginia's present. All eyes are on Virginia.
Virginia's first-term Governor Glenn Youngkin also not ruling out a run. Youngkin made headlines in 2021, becoming the first Republican in more than a decade to be elected governor in Virginia, a state where just a year earlier, Joe Biden won by 10 points. The former investment firm CEO pitching himself in that race as a businessman and political outsider.
We can build a new day.
Focusing his first-term agenda on education after COVID shutdowns and fights over parental rights, plus the economy, slashing both the corporate tax rate and the rate for Virginia's top earners. Miami's mayor, Francis Suarez, also contemplating getting into the presidential race. Suarez embarking on a 10-city tour across the country with a focus on crime, pointing to his city, Miami, recording one of the lowest homicide rates in its history. The popular 45-year-old mayor has called for a young, conservative visionary to be in the White House. Former Texas Congressman Will Hurd has traveled to the Granite State several times as he considers a run.
It's just unacceptable to me.
The former clandestine CIA agent has said the U.S. needs to wake up to the fact that it's in a new Cold War with China. A vocal critic of former President Donald Trump, Hurd has also called for a lowering of the political temperature, saying he's tired of being told to hate my neighbor because we disagree.
We need to be able to have someone that can actually get independents and Democrats to vote in a general election. So candidate quality matters.
Also considering a run is former Michigan Congressman Mike Rogers. He served as the chair of the powerful House Intelligence Committee and would bring considerable foreign policy experience to the race. Rogers says if he gets in, he'd run a more civil, solutions-oriented campaign.